This is not fasting.
The Fasting Diaries of Joanna Ruth. Number 10. Life Interrupted. Pause on fasting.
Hello, everybody. Guess what? I'm refeeding. I've been doing it for a week, and I'll tell you exactly why, how it all happened, and why it was necessary. So, this Fasting Diaries entry is going to involve food. I'm just finishing up my breakfast. I thought I'd share a little bit with you. Today's my last day of refeeding. Really happy because I get to go back into fasting. But I've been refeeding for 7 days. That's the longest refeed that I've done in my fasting protocols. So let me finish this and I'll tell you all about it. I'm sharing with my dog. He's a carnivore too. Right. So what was I eating? That was just an egg wrap, which is I use whole egg, some gelatin, some collagen, a bit of salt, and butter, and I whiz it up in my bullet mixer, and I fry it like a crepe in a crepe pan. And these I made and I put in the freezer while I was fasting. And then when I come out of fasting, I just pull a batch that's vacuum sealed in the freezer, pop it in the fridge. They defrost really well, like nothing happened, which is not what I can say for boiled eggs. Boiled eggs do not survive the freezer. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with them. But the eggs are a premium at the moment. It's a bit hard to get them because they've they've been killing all the birds. I don't know why they don't just have the birds more healthy. Anyways, so this Fasting Diaries entry is about these things. Breaking my fast for 7 days and why and how I feel about it and how I have felt about it and how I feel about ending it and moving back into fasting. The rest that my body required, the nutrition I believe my body required, my psychology and how that has handled the different state change, because when you're fasted, you're in a really different state, physical state, and also mental state. And then when you're eating, it's really quite interesting to jump from one to the other, and then you can feel what's going on. And the other thing that I need to talk to you about is sleep. So I've had an experience in the last 4 or 5 days with, due to an event that I was attending, I just didn't get very much sleep at all. And I'm talking about sleeping 1 hour, an hour and a half in the middle of the day. So not enough and not at the right times, and how that affects your ability to control what you're eating, control if you're eating. Sleep is really, really like deadly important. So here we go. Shall we start with my ridiculous week of numbers? I'll screen share for you. It's almost shameful to show you this, but so here we are. We are down here March 18th today. As you can see, I didn't bother doing very much of anything, but I will show you. March the 12th is when I broke the fast because of 2 reasons. The first reason was I did have a head cold and I had starved the fever, and then I felt my energy really low, even though my ketones were high. So my ketones are really high, 4.8, 5.1, but I couldn't feel the energy coming through. So I thought, okay, well, there's something wrong, and best I break the fast now, because from March, I think it was the 14th, I had an event on. So I might just, the event finished yesterday. Um, yeah, so it was around about those, though I don't know if you can see the bracket around them. March 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, I was doing a personal development slash professional development event, which is held in America. And so the event for me started around midnight. So either a little after midnight or a little bit before midnight. And it's a very physically active event. You're either sitting and you're thinking really hard, taking lots and lots of notes, or you're up and you're moving around to music, creating state change in your body. So I did this event as research to because I know that the methodology used at this event is a different style of doing what I do in terms of story changing. And so I had to move through the event very solidly and do the research until the end of the third day, because that's when we went through the story changing process, so that I satisfied the reason for me to be there. Now, what that entailed was 3 entire days of really not having any sleep, any kind of good sleep. I think the first night I had 3 hours before I had to get up. The next night I had maybe an hour and a half before I had to get up. And daylight savings was changing over in the US while this is happening. So um, we we actually started day 2 of the event on exactly the same day for me, once just after midnight and once just before midnight. So it was really quite ridiculous in regard to sleep, and the fact that the whole event was really taxing as well. So it's not, you didn't just get to sit there all night. I had to employ coffee to be able to stay awake, which dehydrated me. I can still feel my lips trying to recover. The lack of sleep sent me into instant insulin resistance rising. And I could feel it every day, the cravings for more food and more sweetness. And now that I've had a bit of sleep, I've had 2 great nights of sleep now, and I can feel the inflammation is still in my body. I can feel it in my feet when I get out of bed. They're a little tender, which means they're puffier. Um, and so that's an indication that the inflammation is still in my body. And let's have a look at these numbers. So when I finished my fast, I was around 104. Now that's 2 things happening. I've got very low inflammation, very low, and I've got nothing in my digestive system, and I mean nothing. Probably after 16 days, not a gram in my digestive system. In fact, I was expelling at times what could not have been what I ate, is all I want to say. Which means my body was breaking down product that it had built before, and at times it was expelled out. Compare that to the end of this refeeding experience. Now it's a pretty extreme refeeding experience, because I've got my digestive system, because of the dehydration, coffee, being awake all night. I drank a lot of water, but because I had to drink the coffee, it just upset the balance completely. But there was no way I was going to be awake if I didn't have coffee, so I had to do it. So this was a very unusual refeeding time. I didn't realize it would be so hard, like physiologically, in terms of my food. So the last couple of days, I decided to start weighing again, because there was nothing, if I was going to weigh all the way through, there's nothing to compare it to. So what's the point having that information? What, for me to get critical about it or to overthink it? And I was very busy with just surviving this event. So while I was doing the event, the 14th, 15th, 16th, etc., I didn't bother checking anything because it was the irrelevant information. But yesterday morning I did check and I was 106.7. So we've got food in my digestive system, slightly constipated through the week because of the dehydration, and that's starting to come off in the last 2 days, which is great. But I'm fairly sure it's just the beginnings of getting rid of it all. And I've actually got inflammation, and I believe that the inflammation has increased because of the insulin resistance that increased because I wasn't sleeping. And you cannot fight the hormonal state in your body, the chemical state in your body. You just can't do it. So I was the lack of sleep, and I did choose to eat a little bit ketovore, not through the whole time, but yesterday I decided to, if because I'm going to stop eating soon. So, and I was in the supermarket and I thought, oh, well, I'll have some goat's cheese and some avocado dip. And I didn't really I like the goat's cheese, but I didn't like the avocado dip at all, even though I ate it. It just had a strange taste for me. And I think that had stuff in it. The dip had stuff in it that was slightly foreign to my system. And so this I don't think I've actually increased in fat weight. I think I've increased in contents in my body and holding of fluid. And I suspect when I go back into fasting tomorrow morning, I will have maybe 2 or 3 or 4 days where that bulk in my digestive system will eliminate and there'll be nothing going in other than water and salt, and the inflammation will drop down as well. So hopefully within 2 or 3 days, we should be back down at the 104. And then the fasting will start in earnest after maybe 2 or 3 days. Or should I say, the true effects of fasting, where you're actually changing your body composition. So that's those strange numbers, very strange numbers. I'll just take that off my screen. So, why I broke the fast when I broke the fast was that I did have a head cold and I fasted through most of it until I felt that my body just didn't have the resources to fix itself completely. And I also took into account that it really does take 2 days of quite uncomfortable refeeding before you're just free to eat your carnivore diet food. So, I knew the event was coming up, and I didn't want to be refeeding and running to the toilet all the time, in trying to get used to eating again while the event was on. So it was kind of convenient. It was two reasons. I needed to feel better. And even though the first couple of days I don't feel better because my digestive system is waking up, I needed to feel better while the event was on. And I knew I was going to get taxed with not sleeping. So if I didn't have enough energy just normally, then I needed to be in a different state. And my refeeding was carnivore with a few little ketovore things just yesterday, just for fun, just a bit of a test. Because the one thing that I'm learning is, all things being equal, so if I now I don't have, I have the insulin resistance drop down because I've been sleeping for the last 2 nights. I now have my conscious control back because I'm not overrun with hormonal instructions of, oh, you have to, you have to, you have to. So the inflammation is dropping down, the insulin resistance is dropping down, and it's very easy for me to now make a plan. And I know that I'll fulfill the plan because I don't have a story changing my state to create chemicals, just like the lack of sleep has created insulin resistance type chemical state. And the insulin resistance causing me to want to eat dairy because dairy's got a little bit more sugar in it. and not just have the sweet taste, but the actual little bit of sugar. That eating of that dairy then creates inflammation for me. So without all those states being created in my physiology, I'm just left with me and my conscious desire to be physically less of me. Um, and now that I don't have all this interruption, I can get back down to business. The head cold's basically gone. I don't have any of that anymore. Um, I'm sleeping well. I've got all the nutrition. I've been eating good quality beef and a few ribeyes and some grass-fed beef mince and lots of chicken wings, lots of chicken fat, and all the nutrition that's in the fat. And a little bit of dairy, which, it inflames me a bit, but it was kind of, well, actually, I bought some dairy to sort of make toasted sandwich type things with my egg wraps. And I tried twice and I just didn't digest it very well. So yesterday I had really soft goat's cheese and that went down a treat. That was really nice. But um, yeah. So dairy is a bit iffy for me. I bought some milk powder so that I could make my coffee more palatable. And I can feel the addiction growing. I could create a milk powder addiction. So last night was the last of that. I put it up in the cupboard now. This morning, actually, I walked into the kitchen. I went, right, you're done. You're not in today's plan. I put it up in the cupboard and only left out on the bench what is strict carnivore. And that's today. So coming back into the fast, I'm not going to go from like triggering myself and then straight into nothing. I'm going to have a day where I just eat my good old hearty meat and eggs and butter. That's it. Meat, eggs, and butter. I've got some lamb chops in the fridge, which I'll put in the air fryer. I've got some chicken wings that I'll put in the air fryer. And whatever I don't eat today, I will just chop it up, put it in the freezer. Any egg wraps that I don't eat today will just go back in the freezer because they freeze really well. All sorted. And I will have had a whole 24 hours without having any dairy, which is great. It's really good because then when I don't eat anything at all, I won't have that little inkling of craving for what the dairy was giving me. Um, what else do I need to tell you? So yeah, so conscious control it's essential. If you're going to do something hard, you have to, while you're shifting into that state. I know my stomach is going to say, well, where's the food? We just got used to eating, and now, like this morning, before I had my breakfast, it's already 10 o'clock in the morning, so I've been up for maybe 3 hours, and we've been to the park for a walk, and yeah, I could hear my stomach saying, usually you would just fill her up, you know. Now I know we're not lacking in energy because we're doing the thing and we're thinking well and we're not frustrated and not angry or anything like that. So we've got enough resource, but aren't you going to fill her up? And so that's the communication that I received this morning. And when I got home, I said, well, yes, I will fill her up today because today's the last day of filling her up. And I'll probably try to eat really early. So finish eating about 4 p.m. today so that all the fatty meat that I eat is able to slide out the other end in the morning, having digested. So life interrupting your fasting is going to happen. It is going to happen. You can't you can't you can't well life is going to be around you, and if you're going to push yourself through life like you're like dragging yourself through water, pushing like walking through the water, well then you're going to create the whole adrenaline and cortisol stress response, which is you do we not understand what that does, particularly in a female's body? I think men's bodies can handle it a lot better. But if you increase the intensity, it is going to do the same thing to a man's body as a lesser intensity is going to do for a female's body. So a female's body is going to react quite quite panicky in a chemical fashion to pushing through because fasting is enough of a job And so you need to do it in a calm state. So there are two ways to create the calm state. You need to not have a story that's conflicting with what you're doing, what your goal is, the goal you're actioning. And the other is when life starts changing things up on you, if you don't have a very balanced, calm perspective on how life shifts and moves, it's going to cause you stress because it's unexpected. Most of us really have a high value on certainty rather than variety. Children like variety way more than older people like variety. So our values change, and we might talk about how fasting works in with our values. It's a really interesting perspective on whether it's fasting that you're doing or whether it's just eliminating one thing from your diet that you're doing, or you're changing a lifestyle habit. Same. Every goal that we have, if it doesn't match in with our values, we're going to have perspectives on that goal and different reasonings why we will or why we won't. So you can intellectually understand something is good for you and you should do it, or it's an idea that's interesting. Your doctor might have suggested it, or another health practitioner suggested it, or you've heard it on YouTube, or someone's shared their experience like I do. And you think, oh yeah, okay, that is good. I'm going to do that. If it doesn't meet your value hierarchy in the right spot, if you can't understand how it's going to satisfy what you find very valuable, then it's doubly hard to get yourself to do it. That's why can some people can achieve like without the conflict because they can see how it's benefiting them so clearly because it aligns with their value structure. So we might talk about that another day, maybe in a fasting information video. Um, so the psychological aspect to what's been going on with me for the past week, I really just had to not freak out about the inflammation, like really understand that the lack of sleep is causing me insulin resistance increasingly each day, that I'm not getting great sleep. That's causing me to crave foods that have a little bit more of an inflammatory effect on my body. And I'm a bit constipated because I'm dehydrated. This is something that will always happen to me. If I'm dehydrated, I just don't have the moisture content in my bowel to allow the smooth flow out. And well, it's not uncomfortable sitting in there, but it's uncomfortable to try to get it out because we don't have the flexibility in there. So I really just had to remember back to what things have felt like in my body previously when I have been in slightly less easy contexts. And yeah, and that's how I dealt with it. I wasn't critical of myself. The 2 or 3 kilograms going up on the scale to me doesn't say that I am putting on weight. No. I mean, if I kept going and I kept being insulin resistant more because I put myself in unable to sleep conditions for a long period of time, yeah, then I might put on weight. I might have to consider eating more carbohydrates because I'm not getting energy from fat for fuel. But I did check my ketones a few times to make sure. I kept thinking, oh, they must have dropped out by now. I must be down at 0.0. And it didn't. It didn't go down lower than 0.1, which is where I was at the beginning of fasting. So I haven't stepped out of carnivore to the point that I'm got no ketones in my body. There is still fat being used for fuel. It's just coming through my mouth. Um, but it's only the fasting that enables really high ketones. So a lot of body fat being used for fuel, like spilling it, just land of plenty stuff. And also, I had a week off from breaking down any proteins because I started with the head cold. I wasn't swimming, so I haven't been asking for greater demand for breaking any proteins down. And then, of course, I wasn't sleeping, and I was busy all the time. So I haven't gone back to swimming. I think I've missed probably a week and a half. My plan is fasting tomorrow and back to the pool. So we're back on track as of tomorrow. I think that's it from me for now. Um, there's 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 way more to talk about in the coming weeks. Um, I think I still need some more sleep. I'm not quite as clean and clear in my mind. That's one reason I'm just can't wait. Last day of eating. I want to go back into the fasted state because the in the fasted state for me, no matter what's going on in my life, in my mind, in my world, I'm sharp and and I can think through anything and I can organize anything. And I'm in the middle of a few little projects with my work, and I'm really excited to get back into doing them, but I have to have a really clear head. And also my studies, I really haven't done a lot of studies in the last 2 weeks because I haven't had the clarity in my mind to really be energized by it. So and I haven't done any of my singing projects either. So I'm really, really looking forward to getting into the fasting, the stomach being quiet again, and just going as long as I can before, my body says, hey, time to add a bit of nutrition in. So that's it from me. That's how it's been going. I look forward to being able to come on and in my fasted, sharp mental state and share with you how the slide back into fasting has been and the results that it's brought me. I think I wouldn't mind actually. I won't screen share it for you, but I'll just count. I have let me see if I can count like this. Yes. So I've got 13 days before the end of March, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 days after that before I need to come out of fasting. So I don't know if I can do like 20 days of fasting. What did I say? I can't even remember the numbers. I think I might have like a good 20 odd days before I've got to come out and refeed before I'm celebrating. So my goals for that time, my anticipated goals are probably if I can do the 20 days or 21 days, like 3 weeks of 7 days a week. I think I will likely drop about 10 to 15 kilos, probably on the 15 end because now I'm up at 108, and maybe 3 of that is got to come off as inflammation and just bulk. So that's a nice, easy 3. And then I think, about half a kilogram per day, maybe zero point 0.4 of a kilogram per day, might be sort of what I'm aiming at. But it would be very, very nice to be around 90 kilos by the time I get to that break in the fasting. And life will be much more physically active at 90 kilos because I can already feel if I get enough sleep, I'm quite happy to be really physically active in the fasted state. So if I can get another 10 or 15 kilos of weight, like scale weight, some of that will be building muscle and removing lipedema tissue will just be recycling, and the rest is body fat being used. So that's my anticipation goal. If it doesn't go that way, that's okay too, because I'm just going to keep going on and off with fasting until it's done, because that's just what the story is now. I have to turn into the story that I always was until I had this other overlay story on top. which gave me a fat suit to have to navigate life in. And now I don't have that overlaid story. I recognize that the story had so many lies in it that it just cannot be true. It's not real. It's rubbish. It's garbage now. And so I don't even hear that story instantly. It was just taken off the table. And now I am compelled to get straight back into fasting. Make sure that I'm healthy, of course, but I'm really, really excited for tomorrow. I'm really excited for the challenges of tomorrow because, well, I've done it several times now, those first few days of fasting where, you know, the stomach just has to quieten down. And each time I've done it, it's been easier. So I don't anticipate that it will be hard at all. So I will see you again. Thanks for listening to my ramblings. And I'm sorry that I can feel I'm not quite punchy today because I'm not fasted. And yeah, I think I may be a little still sleepy. So next time it'll be more fun. I promise. I promise. Bye for now.
Here's a playlist for the entire series. Please like and subscribe. It helps more than you know. See you in the next video.